This is Jeff Shapiro. He's been kind enough to come over and speak to us today. I bastardize his title by calling him a nurse recruiter, but actually I like Supervisor, Nursing and Clinical Talent Acquisition for Penn Medicine. So
take a deep breath.
Thank you very much for coming, Jeff.
Well, thanks for having me, Bill. Hi, everybody. This is a nice small group, so I'm hoping that we can have a nice personal kind of conversation. So before I get started, I would just like to tell you a little bit about myself. So my name is Jeff Shapiro. I'm the supervisor for nursing and clinical talent acquisition with Penn Medicine. So I've also been in healthcare recruitment for about 20 years now, specifically here in Philadelphia. I've recruited nurses for Children's Hospital Philadelphia. I've worked at the tenant hospitals such as MCP and Graduate Hospital. And for the past almost 10 years, now I've been with Penn Medicine. And I think I've really found a home. I think Penn Medicine is a great, great place to be. It's obviously one of the best employers, I think, in the city of Philadelphia. And we do hire lots and lots of nurses, including new to practice nurses like yourselves. So can you guys just go, since we have just 8 people here, 9 people, whatever it might be, can you give me a little bit of an idea of who you are and when you're graduating? How's that? So we'll start right here in the front.
Oh.
As you finish your pizza.
My name is Wendy Cumberbatch. I'm in the ACE 24 pilot program.
Great.
And we graduate in August. I work at Penn, September. And I work in Penn and Abington.
Oh, you do? Where do you work at Penn now?
In Odo Rhino Thermology.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
I called you the other day.
I think you did. I remember your name.
Funny that it's the same
I think that's great. So you're graduating this August.
September.
September. Okay, good.
Beginning, the first week of
Good. Is everybody here graduating in September then? No? Okay, great.
My name is Marquita Brown. Same information as her. I graduated in September from the ACE 24 program. I currently work at Jefferson.
Okay.
And start at CHOP next month. So.
Oh, great. Good luck with that.
Thank you.
How about you, sir?
My name is Connie McNulty. I am a 5th-year senior in the 5-year BSN program. I graduate in just a few short weeks.
Great.
And,
Your name sounds familiar too.
I worked at Hub for a year and a half.
Okay.
I co-op. I did both my second and my third co-op on roads too.
I recognize your name. Okay, good.
And I'm digging for jobs now.
Okay. Well, now's the time. I'm sorry. When is graduation for you?
June 11th.
June. Okay, great. We'll talk about that in a little bit.
My name is Abby Proctor. I'm in the 11-month ACE program that just started, so we'll be finishing about this time next year.
Okay.
I don't have to work.
Good. So you got it made. You don't have any pressure on you right now at all.
Right.
Okay. Good.
Same thing as her, except my
Okay. Except you're Victorian. Okay. And again, you're graduating next year, both of you?
Yeah, we're all.
You're all the same? Okay, great. So, I think a lot of the information I'm going to talk about today, a lot of the information I'm going to talk about today will really help you out, I think, for your future planning. But for those of you who are graduating sooner versus later, I think this is really going to be very beneficial to you. Okay. So what I'm going to talk about today is a lot of different things, including, resume writing, preparing for your interview. And certainly one of the most important things I like to talk about is licensing. So we'll talk about all of that stuff, and please feel free to interrupt at any time with any questions. So one of the things that, we try to tell nursing students and even experienced RNs alike is that nursing is a profession. It is a career. It's not just a job. So, being a nurse can mean tons and tons of different things. So in other words, finding that fit these days, it really doesn't have to fit exactly perfectly right away. Maybe later on down the road, you want to be a nurse anesthetist. Well, obviously, you're going to have to first work in an ICU and get that experience to move on to your next career, to your next job within nursing. So things don't have to fit perfectly at first because nursing is truly a career. As I just mentioned earlier, we'll talk briefly about some of these points here: your cover letter, resumes, interviewing, and licensing. So the first thing I want to talk about is your cover letter. And cover letters today really isn't a letter. It's all going to be in an email. It's all going to be typed electronically. You're going to send it via LinkedIn, or you're going to send an email to a specific recruiter, or you may upload your cover letter, so to speak, into, our resume tracking system, whatever it might be. So it's all about the technology these days. I would really, really highly encourage you guys don't send any type of papers in. We never know when we're going to get the mail. It might get lost, and everything is all electronic. And we'll talk more about that, and I'll tell you why it's so important that you shouldn't even spend a cent on resume paper. The other big thing, obviously, is social media. It's all about that now. Whether you're on LinkedIn, which is obviously more for professionals, and I would highly encourage you to network via LinkedIn. Facebook is okay, but I'm not going to talk to you on my personal Facebook page about jobs at HUP. And Twitter, I don't know how to tweet, so that eliminates that. But really, I think LinkedIn, if you guys are not on LinkedIn today, you should be by tonight, really. There's so many different groups out there. You can sign up for probably nursing student groups. If you're interested in like operating room, there's operating room nurse groups out there. So there's tons and tons of opportunities for you to really connect via social media. So getting back to the actual cover letter itself, it's really your introduction. It shouldn't be very, very long. It's going to want to make me, the reader, read just a little bit more and turn the page, so to speak, or click the next button to see your actual resume, okay? When you're doing your cover letter, I would say to do your homework, include a lot of specifics, but don't be too wordy in your cover letter. We'll get into some more examples in a little bit. And make sure you guys target your letter to the hospitals or the places that you are sending them to. The worst thing I can do is I open up a cover letter or something, Dear Cooper University Hospital. That means you're applying to other places, and you should, but if you're sending a letter to HUP, it should say, Dear Hospital, University of Pennsylvania. Okay? So be cautious of that and take the time to prepare for those specifics that you really want to address it to. I can't tell you not to apply to other places, but if you apply to 10 places, dear, all 10 places should really be in there. So don't be lazy. Target those letters to the facilities. Yeah, Kyle.
What about just addressing it like, dear sir or madam?
That's okay also. It is. But I think if you're looking to be as personable as possible and you want to make a good impression and you want to show me, the reader, that you're really, truly focusing on my hospital, I would put Dear Human Resources of the Hospital of the University of Pennsylvania, Dear Nurse Recruiter, HUP, Dear Nurse Recruiter, Cooper, whatever it might be. I do think it's best that you specialize and personalize it. Any other questions? Okay. Well, here we go. Don't address it to whom it may concern. Investigate names. I think that's a little bit even more specific, Kyle, to help. If you could find out who the recruiters are at each entity, and we're all on LinkedIn. You can search the net. I mean, it's there. Do a little homework, do a little research, find out maybe who the recruiter for, I don't know, intensive care nursing might be, or who does the recruitment at a specific hospital, maybe for women's health divisions. That's impressive if you can do that. Obviously, you want to spell their names correctly. All right. My name is Jeffrey. I get it spelled Jeffrey all the time. And when you're doing your cover letter, you want to hit a couple of these topics. Like, number one, what's the position that you're interested in? Why are you looking for that job? How did you find out about it? Why are you interested in it? And tell me briefly, why are you the best candidate for that job? Why should I want to pick up the phone and call you and talk to you about this opportunity that I have? So that's the cover letter. Now, don't sweat over the cover letters, and don't sweat over the resumes either, because I'm going to tell you, as a recruiter for nearly 20 years, I have seen hundreds of thousands of resumes, and they're all okay. There is no right or wrong way to do a resume. I have some hints and tips for you, the way I'd like to see my resumes, just because I know what I'm looking for, and my eyes are kind of trained to search for a couple of things. So I'll try to help you out with that. So remember, your resumes, these are really your personal marketing tools. This is where you're going to tell the reader all about you, that you're a graduate of Drexel University School of Nursing, August 2016, August 2017, whatever it might be. You're going to talk about some of the rotations that you've had, your clinical experiences. It's not meant to be your autobiography, so we don't need to know what you did for your high school job. Honestly, if you work part-time, at Burger King. However, if you were a lifeguard for a summer at a camp, I think that's good. because it's healthcare, it's related, you're saving lives. You have to have obviously a CPR card. That's an okay thing to have. Okay, it really is. I like to see the sections of a resume really distinguishable. So like your objective is going to be at the top, you know, your work history then, and things like that. And again, I have a small example of what I'm talking about. You should avoid any repeating information. So keep it fresh, keep it crisp, keep things in kind of chronological order, if you will. You can absolutely summarize your old work history. Maybe some of you don't necessarily have like a lot of work history. I know you're all in college now, so you may not have, you know, a 2-page resume or even a 3-page resume, which I wouldn't expect you to have. But you can summarize things that are probably a little bit older than 7 or 10 years. And like I kind of said before, exclude anything that's irrelevant. Like really, I wouldn't necessarily put down, you know, that you were a waitress at Bennigan's or whatever it might be. You know, it's not necessary. Sure, it shows customer service. It definitely does. And nursing is obviously full of customer service. But I think now you're ready to talk a little bit more about why are you in nursing? Why do you like healthcare? Obviously, you'd like to help people. We know that. So let's focus that resume and have it really detail oriented and focused on healthcare and being a provider, so to speak. Any questions about that? Yes.
So for the ones that have a previous degree, something different, you wouldn't suggest them putting that, like that job they may have had in their previous career on the resume?
That's a great question. And I would, because I know that the Drexel ACE program, you know, this is your second career. This is something that you've taken an active role in your life deciding that you wanted to do something different than what you've already done before. I actually really like seeing what your previous degree was in. So maybe it was in, I don't know, accounting, right? And now you switch to nursing. I'm like, of course she wants to do nursing. Accounting is boring, right? So I get that. And I think, you know, for a lot of the second degree type of programs like this one, like some of the other universities in the area, I do like to see what your previous experience was in. Okay, so that's not a bad thing. It's a great question. Okay, anything else so far? Okay. Yeah, Kyle.
An objective at the top of your resume. Do you need one or do you not need one?
You need one, and I'm going to get to that in maybe one more slide. It's my favorite thing to discuss. Okay. Again, when you're doing your resume, keep those job responsibilities brief. Okay. Use bullets, use not highlights, but use bullet points and just one quick sentence. Honestly, it doesn't have to be 3 or 4 sentences, no paragraphs to describe what you've done, because most likely the experienced recruiter is going to understand what it is that you've done. You just want to be really sharp and succinct to the point on what it is that you're doing or what you've done. No longer do we need references upon request on your resume. For example, you know, I can only speak for what Penn Medicine does and how we do it through our nursing division, but we always ask you to bring in references like during your interview, or if you're going to get hired, I'll ask you to email them to me, stuff like that. You don't need to put references upon request. It's understood, and we're going to ask you for it anyway. Okay? Definitely customize for the target job, and again, be really specific. Don't abbreviate. And here's what I mean by that, guys. So everything, like I said so far, is all electronic, you know, and we get hundreds of thousands of applications per year. And if I wanted to do a search for somebody who maybe has telemetry experience, okay, and you may have only put down tele, well, your resume may come up for a telephone operator as well. And I don't think you're applying, I don't think you're going to Drexel to become a telephone operator. I really don't. So in addition to that, I think it's also really important in the medical field to be as specific as possible. So, you know, you want to spell out intermediate cardiac unit. You don't need to list ICU. If you worked in a MICU, spell that out, medical intensive care unit. Avoid those abbreviations because sometimes our system may not pick up on it. And if I'm searching for oncology, you know, I'm going to type in oncology. I'm not just going to type in onc, for example, if I'm doing like some kind of search like that. So that's why I think it's really important to be as specific as possible. And don't abbreviate. And again, we already talked about only putting in stuff that's relevant to your nursing positions, your nursing career, your nursing experience. Okay. And again, your resumes, even though I told you that you don't have to print your resume or you don't have to buy like fancy schmancy resume paper, you're still going to need to do a resume because you're most likely going to upload the resume into our system. So even at that, this is really important. Avoid those crazy wing-ding types, fonts. Don't use Lucinda handwriting. Honestly, it does not translate well when it comes into our system and we need to do searches. Use a simple font like Arial, Times New Roman. Keep it at least 10 to 12. And as you can see here, I wrote, and I have to squint to see it myself, nothing smaller. Even though I've just got new glasses, if I have to squint to see your phone number, and if I have to highlight it and blow it up to call you, that's extra work that I wouldn't necessarily have to do. Don't use special fonts. Don't use italics. Keep it simple. Honestly, it will look very, very professional. The simpler, the better. Don't spend any money on resume paper. If you get an interview, you'll most likely be asked to bring in a couple of copies of your resume. Maybe you meet with the manager, the assistant manager, maybe the clinical nurse specialist, maybe some other staff members. Just print it on white copy paper. Trust me, it's totally fine. Nobody's expecting to see that thick cardboard paper that you can, throw across the room. You don't need to do that. You really, really don't. Okay? And this, guys, is so important. When you're doing your resume, you want to proofread it at least 3 times by yourself, and then do it one more time after that. And then share it with your friend. Share it with your neighbor. Share it with your mom. Share it with somebody you trust. Have them reread it again, because you never know. Your eyes might be tired one day, one night. You're trying to look at it. You don't see it. You spelled something wrong, and maybe Microsoft Word didn't pick up on it. Review that resume, because believe me, recruiters laugh at simple mistakes on resumes. We need a little joke throughout the day every once in a while, okay? So I don't want to have to laugh at your resume to be the expense. You know what I mean? So there's plenty of opportunity to review and make sure there's no grammatical errors, spelling mistakes, things like that. Okay, true or false from this group here. Can your resume be more than 1 page long?
Yes.
It can. Should it be?
Ideally, no.
Ideally, no. Great. Good answer. And I saw some, maybe. That would be bad. Extend your margins on the top and bottom. Squeeze it in, right? As new to practice nurses, you probably don't have that much experience that you're going to need to have a 2-page resume. But if you did, guys, that's your call. You can. Again, I can't tell you the right or wrong way to do a resume. But if you're going to have it 2 pages, make sure the second page has, Smith page 2, whatever it is. Because if I do have to print your resume, maybe I'm going to a meeting with one of my managers to review candidates. I want to make sure I have both pages. I might lose the second page, coming over to the hospital. You never know. But again, if you can stick to a 1-pager, I think you'd be great doing that. I highly recommend that you update your resume periodically, whenever you change employment, whenever you change clinical semesters, whenever you change clinical experiences, rotations, whatever it is you want to call them. Take that weekend after that rotation is done, write a couple of sentences real quick on that rotation and jot it down on your resume. Okay? So maybe you had, a clinical rotation for women's health at the hospital at the University of Pennsylvania. So just take a couple of notes, put that on your resume. Received clinical leadership training on the labor and delivery unit, assisted nurses in 5+ births. I don't know, something like that. That's all you have to really do. You don't need to tell the reader much, much more about that. But you should list the hospital that you had that clinical at, because I like to see, where have you been? Were you at Cooper? Were you at Hahnemann? Were you at Jefferson? Were you at maybe a smaller community-based hospital? Not that there's anything wrong with that, but if you're applying to Penn, our hospitals are very, very highly acute, and I want to see that similar experience, like a Jefferson, like CHOP, like Cooper, okay? Even Einstein. Big hospitals thinking alike. It's a big, big difference. It really is. Try to keep accurate records. You don't need to be so specific to the day that you started. Like, I don't care if it was September 22nd. You can say fall 2015. You really can. You can summarize that. Okay? All right. Career objectives. Mr. Kyle, here we go. Career objectives should be concise, yet really, really clear. You want to tailor that objective to the job you're applying for. Let me look at my next slide real quick. Okay. So, career objectives. This is, to me, one of the most important things, because I only want to read 3 or 4 words in your objective. I want to know basically what kind of nursing position are you looking for. I don't want to see a career objective to help people get better and cure cancer. That's not your objective. I'll tell you what your objective is, and you guys can all write this down because this is very, very simple. To obtain an entry-level nursing position on an oncology unit at the Hospital of the University of Pennsylvania. To obtain an entry-level women's health position at Pennsylvania Hospital. To obtain a medical surgical nursing position at Penn Presbyterian Medical Center. That is your objective. Am I right? That's what you want. So that's an objective. Your objective is 1 sentence. You can have many resumes, but each objective might be different. And that's fine also. It really is. So there's your objective, ladies and gentlemen. I just wrote it for you, right? That's all there is to it. The objective is very, very succinct. Any questions about that? Does that make sense? I've thought about updating this PowerPoint. I'll do it another time, but I see so many objectives that are like a paragraph long. And I'm just like, I don't have time to read this. I really don't. And they're just going on and on about, how they want to utilize the skills and training they learned during nursing school to be a really efficient and practical nurse and to help. That's not your objective. Your objective is to get a job, and you need to tell me what kind of job you're looking for. Okay? All right, this is really, really basic and simple. Like I said before, I like to really have things as simplistic as possible. So your resume, you're just going to put your name at the very, very top. If you already graduated, then you're entitled to put, Beth Smith, BSN. But if you haven't graduated yet, you don't have the right to put those initials after your name. But again, when you're applying now, just leave the credentials off. But after you get licensed, guys, change your resume up, flip it over, add BSN after that, okay? Put your address, telephone numbers. So to me, this is really important. I would always tell you guys to list whatever phone number you could be reached at, generally from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., even on the weekends. Most people list their cell phone number, and that's fine. It really is. But just make it a good phone number where you are reachable. And if you have a voicemail on that phone, make it professional, okay? I have heard some doozies. I really, really have. And I pass that phone number around to my friends, say, here, call this for a good time. Oh, yeah. Sorry, mommy can't come to the phone right now. She's busy. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. So, if you have a wild voicemail now, keep it. But when you start to send out that resume, remember to change it. Hello, this is Beth Smith. Thank you for calling. I can't get your call right now, but your call is important to me. Leave me a message. Make it professional. Same thing with your email address. Now, I don't know how long you guys keep your Drexel.edu account. So I would always tell you, use your personal email, use your Yahoo or your Gmail, whatever it is. You know what I mean? But make sure that's professional as well. The best one that I saw was bootylicious@yahoo.com. I emailed her. I wanted to see what's going on. But you shouldn't have that. It should be very, very simple. Brian123@yahoo.com. You want to be as professional as possible. Okay? And then right after that, guys, I think it's cool to see that career objective right at the top. And again, we all know now what your objective is. Then I do like to see your education. So I would encourage you to probably list your Drexel School of Nursing program, whether it's the ACE program, whatever it might be. If you haven't graduated yet, I would like you to put on there anticipated graduation date, September 2016. it shows me that, okay, you're not ready yet. Because if I saw your resume today, what's today, April 14th, and you're not graduating until September, I'm going to be mad. Because I can't do anything with you now. I have positions I need to fill for May 9th. And none of you guys can start for me on May 9th, right? So we'll talk about timing and stuff like that in just a little bit. I do think it's okay to list your GPA. And I always get questioned, Jeff, should I put my overall GPA or should I put my nursing GPA? Here's my advice. Put whatever's higher. Right? Absolutely. I'm not going to get so like minute that I'm going to say, oh, well, what did you get in your Psych 101 class? I'm not going to go there. We just don't need to know that. Okay. And then list your work history. If you don't have work history, that's cool, but you all have clinical histories, right? You've all had rotations, or you're going to continue those. So this is where I was talking about before. Keep track of those rotations and keep track of, at least a semester. Like I said, you don't have to say September 22nd, but say fall 2015 or spring 2016, just so, I have an idea how recent that experience may have been. And then if you want to list any awards, certainly, something that's pretty relevant to nursing. Maybe you're in Sigma Theta Delta, the Honor Society, I think that is. If it really pertains to your nursing practice, list that. Even if it wasn't, and it's really like overall great. Maybe you were South Jersey Athlete of the Year. I think that's important. I really, really do, because it shows that you have leadership as well. You're not just a great scorer probably, but in order to get that award, you had to have leadership skills. You have to have that mentality to be that. So we do want leaders. Nurses are leaders. So a lot of that is very much correlatable to getting your first nursing job. Activities, maybe you're on the school board of nursing, maybe you're on this and that. Again, if it's like healthcare related, list it. Okay. Somewhere on here, if you want to list that you're CPR certified, BLS, that's fine as well. We will obviously ask for that during your onboarding process if you got hired. And just by the way, I just wanted to say, we pretty much mandate now the American Heart Association version of CPR. So I hope you guys all have that. I saw a hand.
Yeah. So about the CPR, you want it on or you don't want
About the what?
CPR.
It's up to you. You can.
All right. What about publications?
Yeah, I think that's nice. I do, Kyle.
Where would you put it?
On the bottom, after work history, maybe somewhere around the awards or activities. But I would list that probably underneath, absolutely like underneath your clinical rotations. Absolutely. It could be another subsection, publications. Yeah, in healthcare, that is very common. Yep, good question. Anything else about like the format? Again, I like to be really, really simple. Yes.
Under activities, is that where you put like if you volunteer, healthcare related?
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
And with education, would that go?
Yes.
Do you think it's worthwhile to put any related courses in education?
Such as what? Like, give me an example.
Like if you're trying to go for, well, I guess you would put that in your work history. I guess if you're trying to go for a labor and delivery for something in education, labor and delivery class.
Yeah, I think you should. Oh yeah, absolutely. I think you should. Again, if it's relatable to your career objective.
But do you think it's redundant if you put in your work history about your clinical rotation? I mean, they're kind of separate though.
I think it is separate, especially if it's a separate class, maybe outside of Drexel. Is that what you're talking about? You took some type of, like I know in the OR, like in operating room world, there are refresher classes. A lot of people go to like Delaware, I think it's Delaware Community College. They have an OR refresher course. I don't know if you need to list that because that's not really an activity or a working experience. Shadowing is great if you can do that, like, during a co-op experience or something else. But I don't know if I would list that you shadowed on a labor and delivery floor. If you had a practicum, if you had like an extensive rotation or something like that. Have you guys heard of the Drexel immersion program through operating room? So we're really into that right now. I'm talking about the OR because I recruit for the OR like all the time now. So if you were perhaps like involved with that program, you should absolutely list that, on your resume. But that's more like, it's more like a designated program specifically for the operating room that Penn Medicine has connected with Drexel. Is that about right?
Yes. Yeah, I believe it's for ACE students.
It is for ACE.
Great week in the summertime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
where you're given the
Right.
opportunity to go there for a week's worth of time.
So something like that, I think, would be very wise to put on your resume. Anything else, guys, about this? Okay, this is the fun stuff. The interview. The interview is easy. Psych, just kidding. Make sure you have deodorant. Okay, definitely. So you got to prepare and really be prepared for an interview. Have you guys heard of the internet? There's this thing called the World Wide Web. You could do anything on the web. You can research any organization. I encourage you guys to do that. As a matter of fact, you should probably go to each hospital's website that you're even remotely interested in. So, if you're interested in HUP, go to Penn Medicine/HUP. If you want to check out CHOP, go to the CHOP website. And I'm not just talking about their careers section. I'm talking about their clinical trials. I'm talking about their patient care services. Become really, 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 and almost an expert at that organization. Every place has it. So take an hour the night before your interview, or even the week before your interview, if you get that much notice. Do as much homework as possible. Research that organization. Because remember, you're also going to interview them as much as we're going to be interviewing you. You have the right to ask questions. You want to know some things. Be prepared for that. Okay? As you're preparing for your interviews, I think you guys also need to decide what's important to you about joining an organization. And here's a great example of what I mean by that. I'm proud to say that all of the Penn Medicine hospitals are now Magnet certified. Have you guys heard of Magnet? You know what Magnet is? It's a pretty big certification for our nursing programs. Such a small percentage of all hospitals throughout the United States and Europe are Magnet certified. Last I heard, it was around 10%. That's a really elite number of hospitals. And 3 or 4 of Penn Medicine hospitals are now certified. So we have in our health system, HUP, Penn Presbyterian Medical Center, Pennsylvania Hospital down at 8th and Spruce, and now we're also associated with Chester County Hospital. And Chester County Hospital is Magnet, and we're also now merged with Lancaster General. We're not 100% connected, so to speak, but they're definitely part of the Penn Medicine family. So there's plenty of opportunities. So you need to decide, do you want a big hospital? Do you want a teaching hospital? Do you want more of a smaller, maybe community-based hospital? Are you looking for a trauma center? Are you looking for something smaller, maybe not as highly acute? Or do you want that critical care, emergency medicine, boom, 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 rush adrenaline? There's hospitals for everybody. There really is. And each hospital is obviously a little bit more specific than others. If you want peds, you got to go to CHOP, right? CHOP's the best in the planet, the world. So, do your homework, decide what's important to you. And you need to figure out what's important to you in your first job. And what I mean by that is, and this is really one of my biggest pet peeves, to be very honest with you, I think as you guys get really closer to graduation, you should start to really think about what types of clinical units you want to work on. Because the worst thing that I always hear when I'm doing a blank phone screen with somebody or just meeting somebody, I'll say to them, well, what kind of patients do you want to work with? Or what type of unit do you want to be on? Oh, I don't care. I just want to work for HUP. I love HUP. Oh, really? Okay, well, I'm recruiting right now for oncology. We have a really, we have a great cancer unit. What about that? Oh, no. No, I can't do cancer patients, too close to home. And, I get that. But I just said to you, what do you want? You said to me anything, and all I've got is oncology. And you just made that face no, that's not the right thing. And that's cool. It really is, guys. I think it's also just as important to know what you don't like as to what you do like. It's usually, when I was recruiting for women's health, so do you like labor and delivery? It was either yes or, oh, no. So there's certain areas that I think people absolutely gravitate towards. And then there's some that that, no, that's definitely not for you. So I would tell you to try to start thinking about the types of patients. And, I can specifically speak for HUP because I worked at HUP for almost 10 years now. But at HUP, everybody always refers to everything like outside of it's a med surg floor. Well, at HUP, we have medical units and we have surgical units. So you might need to really narrow it down a little bit more. Like, do you like medical patients or do you like that post-surgical patient a little bit better? Do you want women's health? Do you want the OR? Do you like critical care? Or maybe are you looking for a little bit more of maybe a step-down unit? These are all the things that I think are really, really important because the happier you are at work, the better employee you're going to be, the longer you're going to stay, the less turnover I have. So it's really important to figure out maybe the top 3 or 4 types of positions you would like. It really is. And for you guys not graduating a whole year, I think I just gave you some great advice for you to think about over the next year. But for you guys who are graduating sooner, I bet you probably already have some of those things in your mind. You might. Any questions about that? And the other reason why I say that, and again, I can only speak for Penn Medicine, we have like 8 or 9 different recruiters now across our entire health system. And we all recruit for different areas. So if you did want oncology, I'm happy to talk to you. But if you were interested a little bit more in like critical care units, I may have to refer you to 1 or 2 of my colleagues. If you want women's health, I have to refer you to Allie. If you want outpatient, I need to talk to you, I got to refer you to Eric. And we all recruit individually. We still work for the same team. We all have meetings once a week together. But, we all recruit for our own areas. Like, hate to say it, I don't have any critical care openings, me personally, and I'm cool with that. But I've got operating room and oncology. So it's just how we have our things set up. And that's, I think, some inside information so you guys have a better idea of how to focus your job search. Okay? Anything else about the interview? Let's see. Okay. This is more like maybe day of. So this is definitely an audition. Okay? Do not underestimate the value of a first impression. People probably have a connection with you within the first 5 seconds of shaking your hand, making eye contact, being pleasant, trying not to be so nervous, okay? During an interview, if you're asked to fill out any forms, just go ahead. Believe me, we're not asking you to sign your mortgage over your house. It's not that deep. Try not to focus any of your questions, really, on salary, because I will tell you, from a recruitment standpoint, you're all in the same boat. You're all going to be new to practice nurses. And if you all started tomorrow, the salary is $27.32 an hour. That's it. There's no negotiations. It is what it is. That is our entry-level rate. That's what it is today. Maybe it'll change tomorrow. I don't know. But in all honesty, today it's $27.32. It's usually, Penn Medicine's usually in the top 3 of payers in the city of Philadelphia. It's usually us, CHOP, and I think Jefferson. Could be others. I'm not quite sure. Yep. They got a boatload of money, man.
Yeah, but it's like their pay is terrible. I have friends who work at job and make way less than my nurse friend at top.
I've actually heard that. Yeah.
Way less.
Yeah, I have heard that. But like for entry level, I think we're all pretty much on par. Yeah.
It's to when you move from clinical nurse 1 to clinical nurse 2 that makes the big difference.
Good job, Kyle. Absolutely. So at HUP and at Penn, we have a clinical ladder system. So you come in as a level 1, and that's your $27.32. And somewhere between, on average, 18 months, okay? You'll be a level 1. And then you get to apply to go up to be a level 2. You have to complete all your competencies. You have to fill out an application packet. Honestly, in my entire career, I think I know of 1 person who did not make it from a level 1 to a level 2, okay? And then at Penn Medicine, when you get to be a level 2, it's crazy. You'll get almost a $14 an hour raise. I'm so not kidding. Yeah, it's like,
I've heard people that said that.
it's the truth. It's the truth.
That's when your friends at Chop next door are crying.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. But I'll tell you, I'm going to tell you a personal story. I have a great friend, and she works at CHOP. She loves kids. She loves peds. We talked about money, and I can offer her more. But she is still cool with staying at CHOP because of the love of the job that she has. I tried to get her over. I interviewed her just a couple of weeks ago. And we went through it and we talked about it. And it's a position at HUP where pediatrics experience is going to be needed. It's like in our radiation oncology area. So we share the proton with CHOP. And she thought long and hard about it. But she's like, I just can't deal with the adults. That's what she said. And I get that. So, I probably offered her a couple more bucks, but it is what it is. Okay, enough about money. Don't focus all your questions on salary. Now, arrive on time, but please don't show up early. What is on time for a 10 a.m. interview, let's say? What time should you get there? What time? Yeah, 9:50 is cool also. Honestly, it really is. Don't show up more than 10 or 15 minutes prior to that because you're just going to sit around. Or if you do get there early, guys, scope the scene, walk around the hospital, walk outside, shake off your palms, go to the bathroom, do something. But seriously, if you show up any earlier than 10 or 15 minutes, you're just going to probably sit around because most managers aren't going to necessarily see you as soon as you walk in. And I've arranged it for you to interview at 10, not at 9:45. And that manager, Mary, she's super busy. She had a meeting from 9 to 10. And I know that she's squeezing you in at 10. You know what I mean? So I don't want you guys waiting around too much. So that's why I tell you to show up around 10 minutes. Dress to impress. Absolutely. Put on a suit, put on a nice dress. Guys, shirt and tie. First impressions mean a lot. They really, really do. Okay? And be prepared. Be confident. Talk about yourself. Talk about the job, why you want it. And I think my next slide is going to talk about that. Yep. So during the interview, be prepared. Like I said, you might want to bring references to the interview, but again, we ask for them. If you get hired, you don't have to bring in transcripts, but I will ask for them if you get hired, or we want to see your diploma that you actually did graduate with your BSN. But here's the big thing. You should definitely prepare for behaviorally based interview questions. Does anybody know what a behaviorally based interview question is? Bill.
Tell me about time.
Like to work on a team.
That's correct. Right. That's right. It's definitely not just a yes or no question. Bye. Okay. Good luck. All right. Hope to see you next year. So yeah, behaviorally based interview questions. Tell me about a time that you had a difficult patient and how did you overcome it? How did you turn it into a positive experience? Tell me about a time that you didn't have the proper tools you needed to perform your job. You know what I mean? Give me a great example of what you consider phenomenal customer service. Tell me about that. It's not just, do you like nurses? Yes or no? No, it's not that. You can Google 1,008, if not more, behaviorally based interview questions and how to answer them, right? Answer the questions thoughtfully, think carefully, take notes, about the background, your background. Why do you want that organization? Some what if scenarios, what if I want to transfer into a different unit? Well, our policy is you have to be in that unit for 1 year. But I'm going to tell you guys, as a new to practice nurse, our nurse managers would love for you to stay on that floor for at least 18 months. Look at all that money, time, and training that they've put into you on one of these units. We really request that you stay almost 2 years, or at least a minimum of a year and a half. Okay. Your likes, dislikes, strengths and weaknesses, your future goals. So this is important. Our nurse managers obviously want to hear that, yes, you want to stay on that floor forever. Yes, I want to be an oncology nurse forever, Mary, and I'm going to stay on Rhodes 3. You know what I mean? But we know that's not necessarily always like reality. Obviously, a lot of our nurses or new hires want to go back to school. We have an amazing tuition program. It's okay if you want to go back to school, and you can absolutely talk about it during the interview. But again, we hope that you are not thinking about going back to school for about 2 years, because we feel that, if you go back to school, you might need to have off, I don't know, every Wednesday and Thursday afternoon, and you're the new kid on the block. How can you kind of come in to a unit with 87 other nurses, and now you're asking if you can have off every Wednesday and Thursday because you're going back to school? Well, there's 86 others, who have been there much, much longer than you, who are also looking to take off on Wednesdays. So we try to ask that you certainly can go back to school, but give it at least 1.5 years to 2 years. Okay. When you're done the interview, you should really leave with like your expectations, what maybe what's going to happen next, perhaps the philosophy of that nursing department or that nursing division, maybe how the structure is for nursing leadership. Maybe it's the manager, an assistant manager, and then maybe you've got a clinical nurse specialist or something like that. You'll know about salary and benefits because I just told you about it today. You'll get a feel for how the staff interact, and the oppression of the staff on that unit, and perhaps offering of a shadow. We tend to offer shadows sometimes at the same time that we set up your interview. So maybe we're going to have that interview at 10 a.m. You'll meet with the manager from 10 to 11, and then we'll have you shadow from maybe 11 to 1, 11 to 2, mentor or shadow around with a nurse. We'll tell you to bring your scrubs. We'll give you the opportunity to change because, again, like I said earlier, you should dress to impress. You should. Okay. So shadowing and nursing interviews is kind of unique where we'll give you the opportunity to, maybe put on your scrubs afterwards and have a shadowing experience. Always listen to your instincts and don't burn any bridges. And what I mean by that is don't talk negatively about any previous experiences. Nobody needs to hear that. Okay. I'm not telling you to lie, but certainly, if you're asked the questions, well, what happened at your last job that you were only there for 10 months, you didn't make it quite a year? Be truthful, be honest, but say it in a respectful way. And there's obviously, so many different answers. I don't know the scenario, but be honest, but, don't be so negative about any previous employers because nobody would really want to hear that. All right, this is really important, and I'm glad that you guys are still here because it's license time pretty soon. Kyle, do you have your license? Or no, you don't have it. When?
Well, I graduate June 11th.
Okay.
And chair of our program said that our information will be sent to the state on or just after June 15th.
Correct.
And so I'm hoping, they say it takes a week to get your ATT.
Yep.
I'm hoping like the end of June I'll be able to take my
Yeah, I think you're spot on with that. So timing is everything. I would tell you guys, take your NCLEX as soon as you possibly can, okay? And take the NCLEX in the state in which you think you're going to practice in first. So if you think you're going to work in Pennsylvania, please take your PA boards. But if you think you're going to work in Jersey first, take your boards for New Jersey. You can always get Pennsylvania reciprocity and vice versa. But I think you're right, Kyle, where the timing. So each school has to submit like paperwork to the state on or around graduation that, yes, Bob Smith has completed his or her BSN requirements. You send in your money to take your NCLEX. It's called the ATT, your authorization to test. That, I believe, comes to you either in the mail or perhaps in an email. I would say to stop what you're doing as soon as you get the ATT, take out your iPhone, call, set up an appointment for the first available appointment. Now, it's from the time you graduate till I think you're going to be able to take your boards, I think it's going to be closer to 4 weeks. I really do. That's been my experience over the past years in working with new grads. So it's almost going to be a 4-week turnaround. You'll probably get your results of your boards within 24 hours. You can look it up online. We can look it up online as well. So it's really, really important to make your timing right because we only hire new grads 7 times per year. Okay. So we hire them in, see if I can think, January, March, May, July, August, September, and then November, because we participate in the National Residency Program. So all nurses, all new to practice nurses go to our residency program. It's part of your orientation. It's not anything you apply to, but it's just in addition to your orientation. Okay. So I think it's important that you know perhaps when start dates might be, try to coordinate it the best because we can't let you start without a license. We can interview and we can offer, but it's all pending successful completion of licensure. Does that make sense? Okay. We always ask you to bring in your original display portion because we have to have a copy of it on file. And again, know those orientation dates and plan accordingly. And I think that's about it. Q&A time. Yes, sir.
So I know, so I'm looking for gateway to critical care positions. I know the next gateway cohort starts July 8th.
Yep.
I've gotten interviews. I've been in contact with a nurse manager who's like, don't bother applying, wait until the cohort September.
Yeah.
I also spoke with someone on the phone from the recruitment office, and she's like, yeah, apply anyway, because you might speak by and just get in there. So realistically, when am I probably looking at being able to?
Recruiters are very optimistic, and I would think that whoever you spoke to, I think I know who you did. She's probably right. I would tell you to apply for the July, because it can't hurt. Because you can interview. Let's just play this out, right? So, yes, the next gateway, from what I hear, is going to be July. What did you say? 18th, 18th and 19th, whatever that Monday is.
Yeah.
I think it's July 20th, actually. Whatever. So let's say you interview in May, right? May is like right around the corner. Can you believe that? So you interview, and the manager say, "Oh yeah, Kyle was great. We want to hire him. Let's keep him on the list for July if he can get his boards done in time." Right. So you're then going to pressure Drexel and be like, "Hello, Drexel. I have a job waiting for me. Don't you?" No? Sure it does.
There's no pressuring. This is the date, and this is when it's going to happen. You just have to sit tight and wait.
I love it. I love it. Okay. But I think you might make the July. You might. But remember, you got to pass.
Right. I'm not worried about passing.
Good for you.
I'll pass.
Okay.
I went to Drexel. We all passed.
Fantastic.
That's all right.
Good.
So
Yep.
I am like scanning the careers website like almost every other day,
Don't.
and I know
You should get a wife. There's more.
Not quickly, just you go.
Yeah.
Because I know what's there. It's like, oh, nothing. Move on. You go check your Facebook, check email, I check. Okay, nothing. So I noticed there's only one unit now has a gateway position posted. Do they all post at different times? Because I know that the ICUs, especially the SICU, SICUs have like crazy turnover
Right.
this summer.
Right.
Do you know, will there be more postings or
Probably, but I'm not.
coming
Yeah.
in the next couple of weeks?
Probably, Kyle, but I don't recruit for the ICU, so I don't know how my colleague, it's Liz. Did you speak to Liz?
Liz Purcell, right?
Yeah, that's my buddy. So I'm not quite sure how she'll post it, but she will probably have more openings. I mean, we're only in April. So that's the other thing. You know, it used to be that a lot of nursing programs used to tell the nurses, "Oh my God, you have to apply 6 months in advance." That's crazy today. Because if you're applying 6 months in advance, I don't know what positions I'm going to have. Yeah, it is too early. So I usually like to tell the new grads around a month to a month and a half before you're expected to get your license. Not necessarily graduation, but before your license. Then you want to start to heavily look and maybe apply, because then you're going to be in that time frame. So like if it's June and you're looking and you see a position, if it's not a gateway, if it's not a critical care thing, you know, and we interviewed you, but we knew that you weren't going to be licensed until August or perhaps September, maybe it's a medical floor like an oncology unit. So we'll save a position like that for you, maybe so you can start in September or so you can start in August. But if there is a specific posting like the gateways, I think they usually are specific to the start date. So, you know, it's hit or miss. I can't tell you that we upload or we post jobs every Tuesday. You know, like it's not like the music industry. They release everything new on Fridays now.
Right.
It's not like that. But, you know, I just posted 2 things today. When I get back tomorrow, I might have to post something else. So you kind of do have to look all the time, Kyle. But you can also set up our website, I think, to have jobs sent to you. Yeah. So.
Can you tell me more about the residency?
Yeah. Yeah, so the nurse residency program is the national nurse residency program that we participate in. And it is for all new to practice nurses. It's mandatory. So you can't even like say, nah, no thanks, I don't want to go. It is really a support group. That's what I like to call it as. So it's really like a support group for new to practice nurses. It's helping you make the transition from being a full-time nursing student here at Drexel to now working at, potentially one of the top hospitals in the United States. So for the first 4 Fridays of your career with Penn Medicine, you're going to be in a cohort with all the other new to practice nurses that also start, let's say, on the July 20th date. And our nursing education department meets with you guys for those first 4 Fridays. And they talk to you about different topics. Like one off the top of my head I know is all about time management. So they're going to help you with time management because you're going to be like, oh my God, I feel like I'm working 16 hours a day. I don't have time to find an apartment in the city. I never see my boyfriend. I never see my girlfriend. I got, blah, 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 and it's just crazy. So we're there to support you and helping you with that transition to manage your life, to manage your job, so you are successful throughout the whole first year of being a nurse. You get paid your hourly rate for the time that you spend on those Fridays. After the first 4 Fridays, I then think you guys meet like more like on a quarterly basis. Okay. There is usually a 6-month like halfway party, and then there's like a graduation after 12 months as well. Because this is the national program, you can also maybe submit a poster or an abstract to be submitted for like their national conference. A couple of years ago, I know some of the staff that we hired, their poster was accepted, and they went down to, was in Orlando, great place to be, right? So they got accepted to present their poster. So that's the residency program. It lasts the whole year long. You're supported throughout the whole year, but it's most intense, I would probably say, the first month, because you're meeting regularly with the same group like every Friday. Does that answer?
Yeah, so when I was looking it up online, I thought it kind of like also helped you get into like, because it said operating room, and then it said, does it help you with those specific?
No, not really. That might be something different. Like like Kyle was talking about the gateway to critical care.
Yeah.
We have a gateway to operating room. We have a gateway to OR. We have a gateway to the ED.
So that's probably.
Yeah, the gateways are a little bit different. So gateways are really extended orientations into some of those really, really quote unquote difficult areas. Because, to be very honest with you, getting into a critical care requires more orientation than perhaps the medical oncology floor. So most orientations is about 3 months long, but our gateway programs are 6 months long, and they're a little bit more involved. You might be in more classroom sessions. You might have more didactics. You might be in the sim center doing more labs and stuff like that. Not that you're not going to get a great orientation on the medical oncology floor. Still, that's great. But because these programs are so different, these areas are so difficult and unique. Like the operating room, which I recruit for, it's totally different than critical care. It's totally different than, an onc floor. Totally different from anything. So it's all about technology and training and teamwork and scrubbing and circulating. So, that's why we have these gateway programs. And we're fortunate enough to be able to have, I think, funding, to support that, because we know that, the nursing population doesn't necessarily get any younger, so we have to continually recruit and support new to practice nurses and give them the training to be successful in critical care, in the OR, in the emergency department, stuff like that. So I think you might be talking about the gateway, but the residency is cool too. Yeah, it's okay.
So it's a gateway by the position that's posted.
Yes, it should say gateway to critical care. Like right now, if you were to look, I have a gateway to operating room posted, and I'm looking to hire in May.
It says gateway right now. It's like only one gateway.
Yeah.
And it shows like that internally too?
Should.
Yeah.
Should. It should. Yeah. Okay. Anything else, guys?
Let's say, like right now there's a gateway position posted for Rhodes too. I'll just be honest. I worked at Rhodes 2 for a year and a half, but I really would like to work on Founders 5. So let's say I apply to Rhodes 2.
Yeah.
And I work calls and go, hey, you applied to Rhodes 2. I'm like, yeah, I did. It'd be a great place to work. But I think I'd really like to work on Founders 5.
Mm-hmm.
How does that work out? If you apply to one job, but like the other unit you would have your eye set on hasn't really posted yet, but they probably will. And
it's a tough question.
Yeah.
I don't know how to answer that, really, to be honest with you. I mean,
you just apply to everything?
Not really, because then that looks like you're scattered. It really does, Look, you've got a connection already with Liz. Call Liz and talk to her. Because she recruits for those areas.
What she looks like, or it was like 2 years ago when I met her. I haven't seen
Okay.
her since.
She's like,
Well, I'm on camera right now. I'm not gonna tell you what she looks like. And my colleagues want to see this video too, by the way.
Oh, okay. Now I remember what we're talking about. Okay.
But call her or send her an email. Yep. But like, I thought, Kyle, and I could be wrong, I thought they might only necessarily like post one position for the gateway, and that's like the bucket, and then they will interview people for different departments from that. But I could be wrong.
But I've seen them post separately. I've seen
Gateway to SICU, gateway to.
separately from SICU, from Brooks too. I've seen them post separately.
I would bet that it's coming soon, man. I would bet that it's coming soon. I really would.
so he mentioned, I think he mentioned Kyle, but that there's more openings after the summer because there's a lot of.
Not necessarily true. Not necessarily true. I can't, it's hard to pinpoint. I mean, we definitely have a lot of positions open, like literally right now, but we're trying to fill a lot for May. We do operate on a fiscal year. So our new budget kicks in on July 1st. So it is very possible that there might be more openings after July 1. But it's never a guarantee, it's never a guarantee.
Does that same orientation and all that apply to the clinical practice side, or are we strictly talking about not?
Say that again, please.
Like doctor's offices, like the
CPUP. Mm-hmm.
Is it still like getting hired as a nurse?
Yeah, but I'm going to be honest with you. CPUP doesn't necessarily hire a lot of new to practice nurses because it's much more specialized. It's a smaller environment. There isn't necessarily, and each department's different, so I can't generalize, but each department may not be able to support training and orienting of a new grad because there's so many things that you need to know. Whereas if you're on a big unit with 87 other nurses or, in a gateway to critical care program with a big cohorts, you're going to get more of that orientation. CPUP is smaller. CPUP is much more specialized. It's not necessarily also bedside nursing. A lot of it is a little bit more like triage, perhaps telephone. It's more like an office setting. Nothing wrong with it. Oh my God, it's great. I'm not talking about that at all. But it's a different style of nursing. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you guys for having me. All right, it's nice and quiet. All right.
There's plenty of pizza left over.
Is this phone number off the top of your head, or email address, or
Maybe.
just our contact information?
Maybe we'll see. I'll let you know.
Social security number.
Driver's license.
You would have yeah, well, because I was getting like conflicting stories about I just want to know when. I'm getting this idea. I'm like, I hate myself. No, I'm not thinking about it.
I'm gonna get a ticket.
All right, guys.
I know.
Thank you. Nice meeting you.
Yeah.
Can we get you some pizza, Jack? Yeah.
I'm starving, so I'll pick you up on that.
It was Dot herself.
You are.
You are CTLL. You are CTLL. CTLL. It's just
I know, I found in the hallway, I was looking at it.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff.
Sausage, vegetable.
Thanks so much.
No, just one.
Yeah. Thank you guys for having me. Oh, thank you, Jeff.
We will,
Sure.
we just have,
Oh, that's the trick.
okay.
All right.
Maybe, maybe providing our students who were unable to.
Okay.
With a link to.
Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. Sorry.
Your student.
You know, for this campus, this is kind of a new thing.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, they, had a town hall meeting back in November. And commented, I guess, that, you know, Simon Career Development Center has a lot of activity for students on the main campus. So I would really sign that to provide to get information. This is a community report.
So is this just where the nursing program is primarily located?
Yes, we are, all of our faculty and staff have moved into this building, we have several classes that are held in this building, and also, on 15th Street, which
Or across from
we moved out of Ballot.
Okay.
Jeez.
Horrible little.
Oh, please. And then, over, what they call the new college building, which is part of Hominy, across the street, where we have our simulation.
We have a question, Stephanie. She's a RN BSN student graduating in summer. Can she apply now? That was her question. Yeah. I don't know.
Did we give the students?
We did live one.
Oh, okay. I didn't notice that. I didn't realize. Oh, really? We are taping that.
I want to say, Jeff says it's too early.
You had a.
Jeff says too early? Okay.
Thursdays is also less than the days of clinical day.
Yeah.
A lot of people
Well,
are
see, you
on
know, but this is the thing. I checked with the operations people to see if there were conflicts, to make sure that we had a decent date. And they said, oh, that's fine.
Well, clinical days are Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays.
So why would they tell me fine?
Couldn't
You
tell
know
you.
what I'm saying?
I don't know what it is for ACE. I don't know when ACE students have clinical, but co-op students are every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday.
So we did hear from, I guess, one of your classmates saying that, you know, we seniors are all in clinical. So is there any way that you could take this and show it to us later? So we're doing that, and we'll send the note out to everyone.
And just remember next time we schedule.